Hello and welcome to Ben Ross's Conservatorium of Audio. I'm Ben Rosser, and today we're going to be taking a look at the CamelPhat 3 plugin from Camel Audio. CamelPhat 3 is available as both a VST and an AU plugin, and is way more than just a simple effects plugin. It contains many different effects modules, which allow you to shape and fatten up your sound in many different ways. So firstly, we're going to take a bit of a look at the different modules in CamelPhat 3 and some of its features, and then we're going to get a bit of audio running through it and see what sort of a sound we can get happening. So starting on the left hand side is our bandpass filter module, which allows you to filter a specific range that will be fed through the other effects within CamelPhat. The next module is the distortion module, which includes multiple different types of distortion, including bit crusher, mechanical, tube, and exciter. Following that is our multi-mode filter, which allows you many different filter types to be able to get the type of sound that you're after, with all your typical filter controls, as well as also containing an attack and release control. The next module is our flanger, followed by Magic EQ, a compressor, and our master controls. CamelPhat 3 also contains two LFOs, which you can select by clicking the little 1 and 2 buttons. Each of those LFOs can be bound to different controls in to allow those to be modulated with the LFO. CamelPhat 3 also contains an XY controller, which you can use to bind to different controls within CamelPhat. So as you can see, we're currently bound it to both the flanger controls, and by moving the dot in the XY controller we can adjust both of those, which is quite handy. CamelPhat 3 also comes with a number of different presets, which you can get to by clicking the value readout. As you can see, there's multiple different banks of presets, so you can select one of those, say preset bank B, and then go back in there and then select one of the presets from that bank. You can also load and save your own banks, as well as loading and saving your own presets. There's also a clear preset button, which you can click on, which will clear all of the modules in CamelPhat to allow you to create your own preset or your own sound from scratch. One of the other handy features that I really like in CamelPhat and CamelSpace is the randomize button, which you can click to be able to get all different combinations of controls. Any of the modules that you have turned off won't actually be affected by the randomize control. So for example, if we turn the top 3 modules on, every time we click the randomize button, you'll notice that those values are changing. Camel Audio developed as a special little algorithm in CamelPhat 3 that means when you click on the randomize button, CamelPhat will always try and come up with something that is usable and that can give you an interesting sound, rather than something that might result in no sound at all. So quite a handy feature there. So now that we've had a look at some of the different features, let's get some sound running through it and we'll see what sort of an effect it can have. It already sounds a bit dark. It's quite good. If we turn CamelPhat off, as you can hear, this is the original sound that we're working with, a bit of an acid bass sort of sound. The current random preset that we've got happening there is already making it sound quite interesting. So if we go back to our first bank of presets, this is the default preset that you can hear there now, adding a nice bit of movement and bounce to the sound. If we select a different preset, an interesting flangey filtered sort of sound happening there. CamelPhat's also really good on kick drums, as well as bass lines and pretty much anything you can throw at it. I've even used it on vocal lines and lead instruments, and does an amazing job on those as well. So let's just get a bit of a kick drum. This is the original sound that we're working with. We'll just find ourselves an interesting preset there. So as you can see, it has all sorts of different features that fatten up the sound. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to clear this preset so that we can build our own quick one from scratch. And we'll find ourselves a bit of an interesting sound to work with. That one's sounding a bit fast at that tempo, so we'll just back that off a little bit. First thing we're going to do is use a bit of bandpass filtering, which will let us control which frequencies are going to get affected by CamelPhat. As you can see, we can narrow that right down if we like. So we're just going to go for the very body of this sound. Add a little bit of resonance to the low frequency filter, and a little bit to the high frequency filter, just to help bring them out a little more. You can also link the two filter controls, which can allow you to move the range that you've selected as a whole. So we'll add a little bit of distortion to that. That's our bit crusher, our mechanical, our tube distortion, and the exciter, which isn't having much effect with the low end that we're dealing with. If we open that out a little bit more, so we'll add a little bit of mechanical distortion to that, and a little bit of tube distortion. Go for a bit of a notch filter, and just to get some movement in there, we'll bring the cutoff frequency down into the range we're working in, and we're just going to turn on the first LFO. It's currently set to the multi-mode filter cutoff, which is what we want it to do, and it's currently using a sine wave for its oscillator. So we'll just chuck that on there and we'll see how that sounds. Getting a little bit of movement in there now. It's also a mix control with the multi-mode filter, so you can adjust how much it's actually affecting the sound, so that you can hear a bit more of how the flanger, EQ and compressor can affect the sound. We'll just turn all of those modules off for the moment except for the flanger. We'll just play this bass line again. This is without the flanger. As you can see, quite a nice sound out of that particular flanger. If we crank up our EQ a little bit. Yeah, that really brings out the bass end if we turn it down to the low end of the frequency spectrum. We can bring it up a bit and get it to affect the actual flange sort of sound that we're getting. And then by bringing in the compressor, we can really beef the sound up. One of the things I really like about the compressor, the EQ and the flanger in CamelPhat is they've got a really smooth sort of almost liquid sound that can be quite hard to get from other plugins. So that's CamelPhat 3. I hope you've enjoyed watching this tutorial, and look forward to seeing you again in another Ben Ross's Conservatorium of Audio tutorial. Thanks for watching.